Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. I have Cameron with me. How you doing, Cameron? You right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
How
You?
was your week?
Been all right, man. Been
Yeah,
missing the real football talk. Glad to be back. Been
yeah.
away,
Didn't see you on
on
Sunday.
travels.
We
Yeah, I've
thought
been
you were missing.
away.
We thought you were missing because Liverpool might have lost or something.
I don't think we've lost yet. We've drawn. Well, Chelsea would say they've won 1-0, wouldn't they? But but no, yeah. A draw and a win. But no, I've been away. Looks like anytime one of us is away, someone else is away. This week we're
Yeah,
missing a deal by. So
it's good. That's why we have three, right? To cover for that, but that's fine. Let's get started. We'll start with Arsenal game at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. What did you make of it?
if we're talking about the game in its entirety, you would say Crystal Palace put up a good fight. I mean, it's always hard going to Selhurst Park, but I think Arsenal controlled the game in the majority. Crystal Palace didn't make it easy.
No, no.
Questionable red card, I would say. But I think VAR has been problematic since week one already. But
Yeah.
we'll get into that a bit further. I think overall, Arsenal, I think, are showing signs of improvement from last year, where I think they're winning like they were last year. But not only that, I think they're grinding out the wins. When the match gets difficult, they seem to be knowing when to control the tempo, control different aspects of the game. Defensively, I mean,
Yeah.
Saliba's been excellent. You could say that he's probably showing that he's probably one of the best defenders in the league at the moment. I thought Havertz was having a really good game. I think he is still kind of shaping himself into that Arsenal side. There's obviously signs of a good footballer there, but I think it's a confidence thing for him at the moment. Um,
Yeah,
Overall, I think Arsenal showing similar signs to last year, and
100%, 100%.
quite impressed with them.
I agree, but the only thing I was gonna say, I mean, if we look at Crystal Palace, I mean, since Roy Hodgson has joined at Selhurst Park, only Man City has beaten them, and again, that was a 78-minute penalty from Haaland that beat Crystal Palace. So going to Selhurst Park isn't easy, but we had the better chances, even though Crystal Palace kind of had a couple of crosses or loads of crosses, you can say, especially in the second half,
Yeah,
but it wasn't. They didn't create anything real cut through or clear cut chances. If anything, it was Arsenal. I mean, Nketiah had two. One he hit the post, and the second one, I don't. God knows what he done. But it was great work from him to get
we went for a cheeky chip, man.
even into the position, But yeah, I still think there's cause for concerns, and I'll tell you why. Even though I know we went through it and got the 1-0 victory, I didn't agree with some of the substitution. I know we got away with it, but you're taking off players that could potentially carry us up the pitch and take the pressure off us, and leaving on players that cannot carry the ball or are too tired. So I didn't agree with that. That's why and I don't know, for about 20 minutes we were under so much pressure, and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden we brought on a few more players that can play ball or keep that ball. All of a sudden we look better. So as soon as we got Zinchenko, Havertz was there, and Jorginho on, all of a sudden it looked a bit more different and more comfortable. So it just makes me wonder why go so defensive and so what would I say, take off all players that could actually carry the ball forward, and invite extra pressure on, because only threat obviously they had was Eberechi. Apart from that, there wasn't really much more. I would say.
I would say though with Crystal Palace, I think although they were piling on the pressure, I think Arteta was having faith in your, let's say, newfound defensive abilities, because over the last few years, I think Arsenal have shown that they are a lot better at the back. They are more comfortable playing with the ball out from the back. I agree with you. As soon as Zinchenko and Jorginho came on, more so, you could see that the possession of the ball was a lot better.
Mm.
The only criticism I had about Arsenal, I think a lot of Arsenal fans have this criticism, but this is purely basing it on, AFTV and reading tweets on Twitter. Um, I think a lot of the times Arteta is questioned on his substitutes and game management. I think there is probably a cause of concern for Arsenal fans, but at the end of the day, like you said, City is the only other team to have gone to Selhurst Park and pick up a win, and that's with a
Yeah.
penalty. So I think Arteta, Arsenal, they deserve the plaudits. I think they, like I said, Roy Hodgson has transformed that team. They're still a mid-table team, but they're hard to beat, and I think Arsenal did well to beat them.
I mean, right. I mean, that's how Crystal Palace is going to be. They're going to get most of their points at home,
Yeah,
and they're going to just try nicking some points away from home wherever they can. Because at the end of the day, you need 10 wins at home, and if Crystal Palace can do that, they're staying up pretty much because they got enough in them. I do think they need a striker. I do think that
yeah.
because that's a clear issue. Obviously, if Eze and Olise is out, who's going to be the real other kind of like creator or goal scorer? So those are the two areas of maybe concern for them, but that's always been the case with them.
Would you sell Nketiah?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've already said. I think there was rumors of a Crystal Palace bid for Nketiah for 34 million or something. I was like, yeah, I'll drive him there.
it's a good, it's a good transfer. I rate Nketiah. I think he's a good player. I think he was being cheeky with the chip instead of trying to slot it home. But no, I do like Nketiah. I think
You can
I think he's a baller.
listen.
I think he's a baller. But
You
he's
can
not the type of striker that's gonna win you the league.
you can take him and give us Jota or someone.
Jota, no way. I'd rather have Jota.
I mean, because I mean, you seem like a fan of Nketiah,
Hey, I
so
like Nketiah, not for Liverpool. Like I said, I don't think for a team that's
you
the
like him
title.
because he's gonna cost us points. That's why you like him, not no other reason.
Hey, look, I think he's a good footballer. I think he's hardworking. I mean, if you watch the Amazon Arsenal documentary, I think you see that he's got that grit about him, and he's not someone who is afraid of fighting for his place. But again, he's not a striker, maybe not right now, but I don't think he probably will be a striker that wins you the league.
No. But what I was gonna say, let's get back into obviously the game. What did you make of the Tomiyasu red card? I mean, second yellow. I mean, even
Yeah.
the first
I
one
didn't
was,
think it was. I don't think it
but
was the second yellow.
yeah, first one was soft because Havertz wasted, I think, 15 seconds. I think it was time. So and Tomiyasu was actually looking to throw it to someone. And the second one, well, I don't even think he touched him. So I don't even think the second was a booking either. So
Yeah. So the
yeah.
first one, I think. I don't know. The referees seem to have a power trip this season, yeah? Like this new rule about not being able to talk to the refs. You know, only one coach or manager can be on the touchline. Things like that. Is what it's doing now is it's giving the referees the power to make whatever decision they want, and it's a yellow card or second yellow or red card for dissent. But you know, referees aren't getting everything right. You know, we're gonna go further into some of the mistakes that they've made already. You know, but if we're looking at Tomiyasu's, you're right. You know, he wasn't the one taking the throw in initially. And then when he went to take the throw in, yeah, I mean, he took a bit of time himself, but then surely he wasn't the one time wasting, you know? And even if you wanted to give Havertz and him both a yellow card, that second one, he touched him, but was it enough for a second yellow? No. You know, we saw touches like that in the penalty box that aren't given because it's just the physicality of the game. So why would you give a free kick and a yellow card just because it's further out the pitch? So you know,
Yeah,
there's no consistency. A foul inside the box should also be a foul outside the box. I've seen that the same type of fouls rarely VAR will look at it, rarely ever give the penalty, but for some reason VAR, the referees, they
but
thought that was a second
this
yellow.
is my point. We're talking about them improving the threshold or threshold for a foul or a yellow card or any of those decisions. They improving the like there needs to be more contact than what is usually given for. So if you're improving or if you're increasing the threshold for it, there was no contact pretty much in that second option second tackle on Ayu, I think, who makes the most of it. So it's just shocking. But then it brings to question is that then for like say second offense or second bookable offense, should VAR get involved? Because obviously if the referee is getting it wrong on the pitch, so say for instance that decision he got it wrong, should VAR get involved? Because at the end of the day it's changed the dynamics of the game. Because what will happen is obviously one team will go down and it's going to cause issues for the team and pretty much kill the game in some instances.
I think the main problem with VAR is this clear and obvious mistake rule. I think you need to change that and see was it a correct decision or was it an incorrect decision? Because when you talk about the clear and obvious mistake, you have to start looking into perspective of the linesman, the referee, and then the VAR will look at it as, okay, maybe it's not a foul. They might have the opinion that it wasn't a foul or a yellow card, but because it's not a clear and obvious mistake, they can't then
But then
take back
that's
the
it. It's
decision.
very subjective. Then it's very subjective. I don't think it's a problem with VAR. I think it's a problem with the consistency of people doing it.
Yeah,
As in, say for instance,
definitely.
if it was Darren England or John Moss, whoever's doing VAR,
Or
basically.
Tierney, all of these refs who have been constantly questioned last season, this season already, about the decision making, about their constant lack of abilities to referee in the Premier League, yet they still keep getting given these big games, these big
Mm.
jobs, and it is costing teams points, players, Again, I think any decision on the pitch, which is a game-changing decision, should be checked by VAR. I think that for corners as well. There's been times where wrongfully a corner or a foul
Then I will. Then
before
I.
leading up to a corner. No, but if there's a foul leading up to a corner,
Yeah.
you know, then they score from that corner. That's a big decision. Should you not then, as VAR, look back on that, and if it was a foul, give the foul instead of the corner?
But then are you not re-refereeing the game, Cameron? That's a bit too much to do, isn't it? Then what's the purpose of the referee? Then you might as well let VAR just deal with it. Does that make sense? If you're going for every single bit, then where does it stop?
Okay,
Then you
but
might as well get
say,
computer to do it.
say you've got an incident where your team, clear and obvious foul, referee's not giving it. VAR would look at that and give it a foul. But then it's gone to the other side. The other team's got a corner from that mistake, and then they've scored.
I get you, but
Isn't
then
that a big decision then?
no,
I think
it's a big.
any big decision, any game changing um decisions in the match should be checked by VAR.
I get what you mean, but what you got to realize is obviously there was a couple of phases before he got to that. So there was enough still, even though the referee didn't give it, there was enough time for the defending team to sort whatever's happened. So I do get your point, but then obviously you're kind of re-referring. Where does it stop? Like a minute, 2 minutes. Where does it stop? Because it could be anytime. If the ball stays in play for 5 minutes, do you go back 5 minutes and check for any mistake?
No, but then
You see
then
what
you're
you're doing.
going over the threshold. I think, and I'm talking about directly impacting. If a team's possession has been won from a foul, and then they've gone on to win, score a goal or win a corner from it, I think within that time, instead of looking at it in phases, you need to look at the impact of the game. If that foul happened 5 minutes ago, no way can you go back to that. No way.
No, but
I
that
think
that's
I think
I
within
was obviously exaggerating, but you get my
yeah
point. As in,
yeah. But what I'm
there's
saying is
so much you
it's
can do. I don't think necessarily. As soon as I think as soon as the ball goes out, let's say for instance, obviously a foul has happened, the ball's gone out for a corner. That's done. That decision is from there now. Obviously, whatever happened, because you can't go back. If you look at, say for instance, do you remember Martinelli's goal that was disallowed against United last year? I think
yeah.
that was okay because it was about 10 to 15 seconds. But if there was more than that, if you're going back about 30 seconds, I think it's a bit too much.
But again, I think the mistake with VAR is choosing what the phases are. Again, it's subjective. You know, if there's a foul that's led to a goal, again, a foul that's led to a second red card, second yellow that's caused a red card. What's the difference between them giving that red card in that moment or them stopping play? Because refs aren't inclined to stop the game. What will happen is the game will follow through, and then VAR will be checking it as the game is following through. We've seen it with the penalties. Penalties aren't taken until VAR has had a proper look at it. Even the most obvious penalties, VAR is looking at it. That takes up time, that consumes time. In that time, there
But
could have been a
but
pen,
that's
a
a big
counter attack.
decision. That's only gonna happen once or twice, if that. But if you go to the granular level, then you're stopping too much, and then there's too much stoppage time will be added, and it breaks the game way too much, and there will be no flow. That's the problem. But what I would say is,
No, but how often
I do.
do you get a foul and then a corner and a goal, a foul and a goal? You don't get it that often.
Cam,
I'm just saying it's about big decisions. A goal could either cost your team to draw or lose,
No,
or
but if it
cost that other
again
team
it
to win.
comes down to phases. Like I said, if it's within that phase of play, if it goes to corner, then that phase is finished. For me, that phase is finished. If it
Even if
goes
it's
to a
five
corner,
seconds
that phase
after.
is finished. New phase starts.
Even if it's 5 seconds after.
Even if it's 5 seconds after, because the ball has come to a stop, you could deal with the corner. You have to deal with the corner. You didn't defend properly. That's on you. It's not in play.
I think it's hit or miss because what led to the corner? Then that's
But
the problem
so
with
many
VAR. Then
so many things leads to a corner. But if you can't just keep picking on things, because if the phase is stopped for me, it's done. Next thing, what's the next phase? Boom. Because then all you're doing is you again, it's gonna get into more subjectivity and more nitpicking. How far back do you go back to get to that corner?
no, I
That's what
wouldn't
we've
say you
come
have
to.
to go as far as, like you said, 10 to 15 seconds.
I think that's a bit ridiculous. But what I was gonna say is I do like the idea of what they're doing with regards to the time stoppage and stuff. I do get the crackdown. I understand it. And probably they're giving the yellow cards, etc. It will help further down with the flow. But what I need to see, or what I need to see from which rarely happens, is the consistency. The problem is consistency. If you're gonna do it from the first minute to the 90th minute. It shouldn't be they're wasting time in the first minute. It should be a booking. Be consistent with it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if that's the rule that you're saying and that's the bar you're setting, do it consistently. And sometimes you've seen it, like they're time wasting because they're on a second yellow card. The referee's thinking 2-3 times, should I book him or not? No. If that's the rule you're saying, oh, only 8 seconds, whatever, go book him. If that's what you're doing. So that's where the consistency needs to happen, and that's where my problem is. Consistency is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could look at Premier League and the referees this week and say there's been inconsistencies in card giving. You know, we've seen players over the first and second week get yellow cards for asking for a yellow card or implying that there was a foul given.
I agree with that, by the way.
You know, and then you've got players who have done the same thing. Partey, for example, who he's putting his hand up, yellow card. He didn't get a yellow card for it. So there's inconsistencies in the way refs are dealing with dissent. So
but what you got to also realize, sometimes maybe when Partey has done it, say I'm not defending it, I'm just saying referee might have been looking away, or referee didn't look at the situation, or might be facing somewhere else, so it could be missed. Do you know what I mean? But like you said, for anyone that's going up to if it's not the captain, anyone else going up to and misbehaving or going up to the referee's face, yeah, it's well within his right to punish them, because what's been happening last year a lot of players going up to the referees crying, oh, do this, do that. No, cut it out. If someone wants to speak, get the captain to come and speak. That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the captain should do it.
It's a bit like it should be a bit like the rugby thing, where it's so disciplined you can't even swear at the referee. But what has happened is, within the footballing industry, is what's happening. Players can now go up to and swear at referees or say whatever, but because the discipline isn't there. If the discipline was there, and that's what they're trying to, Howard Webb is trying to go harsh with it, is so that they can bring it in line, so that
I think the discipline only works if the refs are up to standard, because when you've got inconsistencies and when you've got weeks upon weeks, games upon games, I'm not just talking about since this season has started. Last season, the heavily criticized referees, they're still refereeing these games, still making these same mistakes, and at the end of the day, they're human, they're gonna make mistakes, but there's certain things which should come like very naturally to them as a Premier League referee. They're refereeing at the top level, and there's too many mistakes going on. So how do you expect players, teams, managers to respect and feel like they need to abide by these disciplinary rules when they're feeling hard done by, when referees are almost screwing them over week in, week out?
I agree. Sometimes you're not gonna get the rub of the green, but sometimes there is nothing you can do, because for whatever reason, as long as the referee explains the reason to the captain or whoever comes up to him, as long as he explains it to them, look, this is why I saw, or I didn't see this is why I've done this, fair do. If they do that. But then obviously that's where the communication needs to improve between the referee to the player and the players to the referee. Because what has been happening is players just coming up, shouting, like demanding.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. I agree that
that's where
the captains should be dealing with the issue. But again, then you might as well have no players, because referees, as soon as they've made a decision, They don't really go back on it, unless it is one of those where VAR intervenes and takes them back and say it is a pen, or if they say, oh, that was a red, or that was a yellow, or that wasn't a yellow.
And so it should be.
Barely ever do refs go back on their action. So is there even a point captains going over because if we're gonna go that harsh, at the end of the day, football's a passionate sport. The player getting hurt, or the player getting fouled, or the player that gets done hard by,
Listen,
they're gonna be the one to react. It's not gonna be the captain all the time to react.
how many times have you seen players fake it? Like, come on, man.
No,
Like,
of course,
let's be honest. If I'm playing Sunday League, I'm not even gonna lie, and I'm winning 1-0, yeah, and some guy just comes and taps me, yeah, I'll fall down like he's like, you know, it's
Yeah, but no,
it's part of the game.
not everyone's like you,
You're gonna
Not
I'm
everyone's
gonna
like
do
you.
4 spins. I probably wouldn't do it. I'll do 4 spins just to wait for 10 more seconds.
Look, there's integrity to the game, and I think you can see with footballers. We've seen it with all footballers. It's got nothing to do with European ones, the British, like the English footballers, etc.
They all do it.
They all dive, they all do it. They all try and do a bit of time wasting, and I think the added times now, it kind of eradicates that a little bit.
Yeah,
You can
exactly.
see that they're going hard on that, but again, it's not about the foul. It's not about sometimes the incident that's happened. If you've got Elise who's is running down the wing, Saliba's coming in and giving him a hard tackle, they're going to be the first two on the scene. Of course, they're going to be arguing. Referee's going to be the first one on the scene.
But they can argue. They don't need to go to the referee's face to say, you know what, book Cameron for a yellow. I don't need to do
but
that.
what I'm saying is, it's very natural. It's very natural in the sport. It's very natural in the sport to
I get you, but
passionate.
you're hurt. You can show you're hurt without going to the referee's face to like tell the other guy to be good.
Yeah, but I just think referees are too protected, because you can't even criticize the ref without getting fined by the FA. Again, the players are humans, managers are humans. They're gonna feel a type of way. If referees make a mistake, or a manager or a player has their opinions, they should be able to voice it without being fined about it.
This is why we said previously. I think they should do that thing of where referee actually speaks through the mic to explain decisions and what's happening. Not all decisions. I mean, like big or big changes of decision. So, say for instance, I don't know if you've seen in the FIFA Women's World Cup, what they've done is where if they're changing a decision or even in the World Cup final, FIFA Women's World Cup final, about the penalty, she originally didn't give the penalty. VAR looked at it and suggested to go look at the screen, and then she changed her
but
mind.
you can hear the dialogue. That's fine. You can hear the dialogue. You can hear the conversation.
Maybe that will help not just the players, but also the fans and the fans in the stadium, and also people watching, and make it a bit more interesting. I think that's what they should do.
No, definitely, because you've seen that they started to introduce that in Liga a little bit, and I think when you have that communication, when you can hear what the refs' decisions are, the communication that they're having with each other, I think, overall it helps understand a little bit more why they've made those decisions. Equally, I think, I know this idea has been floated around, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. And I think, again, it's because, referees are too protected, and it's post-match interviews for referees. Why don't they come over, have a few minutes to discuss?
Never going to happen.
Exactly. It's never going to happen. But why are they never held accountable for the actions that they
never going to happen?
They make on the pitch,
But,
and that's why I think VAR is always going to be a problem. Referees are always going to be a problem until you start holding them more accountable. They're not held accountable enough.
Yeah. Just to finish up, obviously, McAllister's red card got rescinded, and also, I just think personally to finish off is I think what should happen is there should be there should be a body that kind of does the VAR decision, not referees themselves, because what they will be doing, they'll be trying to protect their mate that's on there. So I think actually there should be experts that's trained up to actually do that job rather than their mates, as in, say for instance, Paul Tierney as VAR for Darren England or something, whoever else. It shouldn't be their mates, and that's what I think should happen.
But I think that will take time to set up. That will take time to set up, mainly because is then who do you choose to be part of these independent bodies, and
ex-players.
Yeah, I think that's where it's gonna go. It's gonna end up becoming ex-players, etc. But again, every single ex-player, every single body will have their biases. If they played for Arsenal, if they played for Chelsea, if they played for...
there's obviously so much you can do right about biases and stuff. So
yeah, but I agree. I think there needs to be a change from referees backing referees.
Yeah,
there needs to be more impetus on the idea that if a referee's made a decision and the VAR or the team behind them, instead of protecting them, they need to be held accountable a bit more. We've seen, like you said, McAllister Alister's red card being rescinded, that's just a clear sign of what were they doing on the pitch then? The ref gave the red. VAR team's looking at it. Why have they looked at that and thought, yeah, that is a red?
Well, they probably didn't think again, not clear, obvious error. So that's why.
Yeah, but then again, so why have they
So
now
this is what I mean.
gone a few days later and it's been rescinded?
Yeah, but
Do you know what I mean?
subjective, so subjective, right? But it could have ruined the game for Liverpool, but it didn't. They ended up winning 3-1. So, and he's back for the game against Newcastle. On that note, Cam, thank you for joining. For those of you watching, thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment, please. That would help us greatly.
Yeah.
Thank you.